YouTube! What it do is your boy Benji. We're back in between the ropes. It is a crazy weekend for wrestling. It's almost as if sides are supposed to be chosen. But at the end of the day, we're going to try to catch as much as we can. I'm going to give you all my opinions on things that I saw. But it looks like the brands are battling. WWE and AEW obviously going tit for tat with some big promotions over the weekend. If we keep in score, there's an obvious loser in this. And we're going to give everything the grading scale. Yay, nay, and right in the middle somewhere, okay. I do want to let y'all know, have some patience with me. If you haven't been following along the videos, which I support and appreciate, plenty of y'all who supported and appreciated me by getting us over 500 subs, I just started watching AEW literally a week ago. I may have missed out on plenty cues. In addition to a lot of the movie and TV show reviews and reactions, I'm going to start posting a lot more frequently on Patreon. I think I'm going to get really a deep dive into some of the lore behind the WWE and AEW and plenty of other promotions that I think I missed out on. So y'all let me know if you'd like to see that type of stuff and join the community, if you do feel so obliged. First thing I noticed was how grandiose the presentation and production was for All In. It is a breath of fresh air because it really does differentiate the weekly shows from the pay-per-view events. We know that this is a big-time event. All right, so there was an 8-man tag team pre-show match. Shane Taylor Promotions show up. We know who the bad guys are. We then had the Sons of Texas, which consisted of Dustin Rhodes, Sammy Guevara, and the Von Erich brothers. They were able to bring out Papa Von Erich too. Shane Taylor's a big boy, and that was extremely evident where there was a moment where he just trucks everybody outside of the ring. I love too that there was a moment where he's mushing somebody into the turnbuckle, and one of the SCP members was yelling into the camera, "That's a man right there. That's a man." But yeah, it ended with everybody putting their opponents into an iron claw, leading to Papa Von Erich pinning one of the members of STP. Or at least he got a claw in too. We then got to see the Don Callis family versus Hologram, Tomohiro Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly, and Big Boom AJ. Big Boom AJ shows up with Big Justice and the Rizzler. So I knew this was going to be a good one. The match started off pretty crazy. These guys were brawling, and the Don Callis family all got mounted in the corner and got punched on. I will say, I forgot how you say it. Hechiciero? Look, y'all got to have some patience with me because it's going to be rough. But he and Hologram have a really good segment. And it's hilarious to watch Kyle O'Reilly just keep getting whooped on. But the action ends up spilling out to the outside, and they mush Big Justice. That is a child. But hey, sometimes you got to stay in a child's place. We get another moment from Hechiciero and Hologram. And once Big Boom AJ gets into the ring, every strike is accentuated with a big boom from the crowd. And I just find it so funny that Hologram and Hechiciero are really one another's biggest haters. They never hesitate to attack one another, and apparently they've held beef though across multiple promotions, so I understand it. We're keeping it alive. Some beef just can't die. But yeah, I really loved all the action and madness in this match. Anyways. But yeah, Big Justice gets his payback, spears Beretta before Big Boom AJ gets the power boom, and the boys win. We then got FTR versus the Outrunners, which in this match, not gonna lie, first thing I thought of was how crazy FTR is for walking out with leather on. Because I kind of feel it. It's like Texas style, but in Texas heat, no. No, sir. No, sir. And then, yes, our mini Hulk Hogans show up. And I really do like the vintage effects they put on for their entrance. I just like when you get to flesh out individual characters, for real. But yeah, these guys really had each other scouted. And the funny thing I kept laughing about was how the Outrunners gear just reminded me of cigarette boxes. But yeah, Magnum, he spends the majority of the match getting pummeled by the two men, and FTR is really strategic in ensuring that Turbo cannot tag in. When finally Maxim is able to tag in Turbo, the ref didn't see it, so he tries to usher Turbo back to the corner. And so in that little window of time, the referee is not paying attention. He doesn't have the eyes in the back of the head. FTR gets more hits in. The Outrunners end up hitting the finisher, the Total Recall with Stokely, who's, I guess, their manager. I thought he was I don't know why I thought he was a wrestler at first. I mean, I remember him being the voice for these guys on, I think that was AEW Collision. But I don't know, the way he came out and carried himself, I just thought he was a third wrestler. He pulls Turbo Floyd off his boys, and at this point, somebody needs to tell the referee to open their eyes. Literally do your job. Turbo fumbles, though, because Turbo Floyd does chase Stokely around and tries to choke him out. But again, you got to pay attention to the people that are in front of you in the match, brother! Because this leads to Dax Harwood of FTR getting able to get the roll-up, and his boys make sure, referee, go ahead and hang out in the back. Get some snacks. You don't need to be out here with the big boys. We get the Ops and the Death Riders matching up for the trios titles. Big boys in this match. They love slapping each other. The match went back and forth and really had each team trying to take advantage of each and every opportunity. There was a really crazy doomsday device, like reversal, where Big Boy right here of the Ops is able to like counter it into a power slam. It was crazy. But yeah, once the crowd sees Samoa Joe get somebody up, they all get on their feet too. Ends up, of course, with the Ops retaining. Unfortunately, the Death Riders are extremely sore losers and try to take Samoa Joe's head off. Like, it's a wrestling match. You showed up. You're either going to win or lose. If you lose, hey, look, man, we can work on each other. We can work on this, that, and the third. Let's better ourselves. Unfortunately, no, that's not how it works. These guys are extremely sore losers, and they just resort to, like, a little fatality after this. And if that teaches us anything, you win some, you lose some, but you cannot always accept a loss humbly. We then got the men's casino gauntlet, where 14 guys are battling for an AE championship bout. Mark Briscoe and MJF started off the match, and after all the heat that is brewing over the last few weeks, we knew this would not be pretty. New participants were introduced at regular intervals, and we saw that Ricochet entered third position, and then we saw Mystico, etc., etc., etc. The crowd was really hyped for Brody King, and as he went through some of his signature moves, folks began to seemingly creep and clamor to see who would win. It was really dope to see the crowd reactions throughout the night, and I ain't gonna lie, I was on the edge of my seat. I will tell you though, there's a lot of just haters in these wrestling matches. There was even a moment where Ricochet, who was just getting beat up by everybody, just kept getting planted and planted and planted. But then, funny enough, there was a moment where MJF gets put into a submission hold by Mystico, and then instead of taking advantage of the opportunity to maybe pin Mystico or doing something like that, Mark Briscoe runs over there and puts MJF in his own submission. So at this point, it's very obvious Mark Briscoe did not care about winning the match. He just wanted to inflict pain on MJF. That's a pure hater right there. And I can't lie, I love it. The entertaining Max Caster entered last too and is absolutely blasted as soon as he even steps foot toward the ring. I did enjoy that Mark Briscoe was able to hit his late brother's finisher. And it was even crazier, but I enjoyed this too, that MJF was able to slither into the ring and steal the pin. Just literally, MJF's a great. He's a GOAT. The crowd boos. MJF just loves it even more and more and more. And again, shout out to MVP as well. I will say, at this point already, we've seen a lot of great wrestling. We've seen some entertainment. And there's a lot of early story progression. Everything seems to be meaningful, eventful, or at the very least, there's an entertainment value behind it. I'm not the person that says every match that should be on a pay-per-view or a regular week-by-week show should be something that consistent only title matches. But it makes sense that there's at least some dignity and some reverence that everyone has for the titles. And at the very least, people are excited to be on a PLE or a pay-per-view and go out there and perform. And maybe they'll get their chance at a championship belt. But that's done nicely because there is significance placed on getting an opportunity to fight for a championship belt and how that can turn a lot of people's careers around and how important it is to carry gold. It makes everybody care about the championships when the characters care. There's some promotions where you got champions walking around with belts that don't defend them, that don't talk about them, that don't do anything. So it's tough for us to care about the belts if they don't care. And a piece of unfortunate news, though, we do get Adam Cole coming out to say that he cannot defend his title due to health issues. We don't really hear what it was specifically. And he even mentions retiring, or the thought of it, which was haunting him. So yeah, emotions were very high following the Adam Cole announcement. But the Fatal 4-Way must go on. Shout out to Dustin Rhodes for competing in multiple matches. I will say there were some insane spots, like Sammy Guevara hitting crazy Spanish flies off the apron. And I thought there was a hilarious moment where everyone takes turns just kicking Kyle Fletcher in the nuts. I'm not even mad at the use of the roll-up pin here. Danny Garcia had Dustin Rhodes in a figure 4 leg lock, and when it seemed like he was going to tap, he reversed it into a schoolboy roll-up pin, and then that ended up winning the match. This completed a really happy moment for Dustin and the state of Texas, because Dustin was able to win his, I believe, his first Singles Championship in Texas and in front of his family. And a promotion that his brother helped, but well, whatever. We got Swerve and Osprey matching up against the Young Bucks. We've seen a lot of the beef that's brewed over the last couple of weeks, or at least I've been able to see that. This match meant a lot to Will Ospreay and Swerve because if they were to lose, they are not able to challenge for the AEW Championship for an entire year. And if the Young Bucks were to lose, then they would forfeit their AVP privileges or something like that. I did think it was funny, though, in their interview prior to the match, Will took responsibility, and he says that he can do all that he can if they lose to make it up to Swerve. But Swerve let him know he ain't worried about it. He took part in this bet too, so he's ready for all the smoke. First thing, Will Ospreay is a superhero. This match involves plenty of insane sequences, including Ospreay and Swerve no-selling destroyers to hitting their own hidden blades. Swerve and Ospreay kick out of some ridiculously crazy moves. Like, there's a portion where Will Ospreay gets hit with a hidden blade, takes a 450 and a moonsault, and then kicks out. It started to give them vibes like nothing was going to be done for the Young Bucks if they didn't start cheating, because they couldn't keep these guys down. But they got to think about it. The stakes at hand require Will Ospreay and Swerve to be resilient. There was even a dope moment where Ospreay tried to do a crossbody, and he hit Swerve on accident, and then he gets hit with a flurry of moves before he kicks out. There was a moment, too, where they start seasoning Will Ospreay with kicks, and it looks like the finish is on the way, but Super Swerve steps in and takes some kicks from Ospreay, and then reverse their EVP trigger. No lie, the referees, they're definite residents of Swerve's house. But in the end, it was a house call and hidden blade combo that got the win for Will Ospreay and for Swerve. I mean, you know, you put these guys in a match, it's going to be exciting. This will obviously mean a lot for the Young Bucks, is a lot of their confidence, their swag, their demeanor is built off of the fact that they win. So where are they going to go now? Admittedly, I didn't get to catch too much of the women's casino gauntlet, but there was a plenty of new stars that were introduced to AEW, so I was completely lost in this match. And this led to Athena winning, ultimately. The women have been beefing for weeks, so I think that there's a lot that they can pivot off of this as well. There's a bunch of little microfeuds. And again, I love the fact that even if you do multi-team or multi-person matches, there's a lot of little things that we see building up in these matches. It's not just a bunch of pointlessness going on. It seems as if, at least to my knowledge, again, I'm only a week or two in, we've been able to see the matches that were put together stemming into something. So it's not like people just have a match and then they just go about their business. But again, like, I understand that we having a match because it's what we do with wrestlers. But then, bro, I don't like the way you did me in that match. So just letting you know, if we're in the ring together, it's going to be some problems next time. And then they actually fulfill the problems. And those problems may or may not cost them wins or help them win. They may garner them friends or lose them friends. We next got the AEW World Championship match. It was a three-way between the Hurt Syndicate, JETSPEED, and the Patriarchy. Shelton and Bobby Lashley are literally insane with the slams they keep putting these guys through. And I would like to mention again that there are some insane athletes in AEW, and there are some ridiculous moves and dives to the outside of the ring. I will say, again, this is a great match of a great blend of styles. It really showcases a really good blend of styles. There's power versus savvy and high flyers. Now, I will ask you to remember that the FTR, they were commentating, and there was even a moment where they kind of become introduced into the match because Christian Cage is shoved into them as they approach the ring. And this only leads to Cage getting put down with a big spear from Bobby Lashley. And again, I keep telling y'all, it's important to win, especially on the biggest stages. So Nick Cage turns on Christian after the loss, and he joins FTR in the annihilation of Christian Cage. And you can't trust these women. What did Chris Brown say? They then set up Christian for an opportunity to literally take his life, and we hear the music. Adam Cope returns, and it seems very evident and obvious to me that bro just couldn't care less about Christian, who was on the brink of death in the ring. But hey, hold on, bro. Cope had to relish in the cheers of the crowd on his return. I mean, dude is literally running up and down the stage. But yeah, he runs into the ring with a stake full of barbed wire, and after saving him, Christian gets up, and Cope tells him to go find himself. I'm sure there'll be plenty that comes from this, as many wrestling fans understand the history that these guys have, which spans over multiple decades. Next up, I ain't gonna say I called it, but I called it. We had Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. There were some ridiculous kickouts in this match. And I'm not upset if you save that type of stuff for the PLEs or the pay-per-views. Guys, bear with me. Like, we had Toni Storm kicking out of the Money Maker, and there was an insane moment where Toni Storm hits 3 Storm Zeros and Mercedes kicks out. But to her defense, she is an insurmountable force, so I cannot complain. The shorty has like 1,000 belts, so it's not like she got these belts by getting pinned. There's a wonderful level of animosity between these two, and there's even a point where Mercedes mocks Toni and smooches her before trying to get a finisher off, but Toni counters. There are submissions pulled, and again, they continue onward, even though they're beaten and exhausted. They literally try to pull everything out of their bag. Toni Storm pulls Mercedes to the top turnbuckle and is able to plant a kiss, and then plant Mercedes straight to the mat with an avalanche Storm Zero, thus defending her title and handing Mercedes Moné her first singles loss in AEW. Crazy work. We then got Okada, who is the Continental Champion, against Kenny Omega, who is the International Champion, in a winners-take-all unified belt match. These guys have been fighting across brands for years, and it was great that Don Callis was on commentary and Kota Ibushi was in Omega's corner. They watched the match get to an initial slow burn, which, again, these two have fought many times. So it only makes sense that they would be very cautious in the moves that they would begin in while they're going on the attack. Okada targeted the midsection. And again, another match with so many near falls. So many near falls that Don Callis ends up yanking the refs out of the ring in order to keep Okada's chances alive. There was one final Rainmaker lariat from Okada that was able to keep Kenny Omega down, and now Okada is the unified champion. And of course, we got the match that a lot of people were asking for. Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page. This match was brutal, but I didn't expect any less. According to the lore of Mox and the vitriol between these two, I didn't think that it would be anything less than a war. Dude, this joint got off early with Hangman jabbing this dude in the head with a fork. They quickly pulled out the barbed wire and brought out broken glass, and Mox starts smearing Hangman's body across the shards. The numbers game begins to take over, but we saw OSPREAY run out and try and even the odds, which didn't last too long because he ended up with his head being sandwiched. I don't know what's going on with the Concertos, bro. They were trying to end everybody, bro. So after they took out Will Ospreay, there was this moment where they were able to string barbed wire across tables, and Moxley was able to suplex Page onto these tables. And I'm not going to lie, this is probably a clip that's going to be replayed over and over and over. These two would just not stay down. This match was absolutely for the sickos. There was a point where the Death Riders grabbed plastic bags, which apparently were like the ones that Mox used to end the career of Bryan Danielson. I wouldn't really call it a promo. It was kind of like just a quick video of who a person who was rumored to be Darby Allin shows up on top of Mount Everest. Now, this threw everybody a little bit off because right after that, we saw this fella here in a blue mask, Grande Americano. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people probably thought it was going to be Darby Allin, but it was. Once we saw that, yes, we already knew what time it was. It wasn't too long, though, when the Darby Allin fella comes out of the ceiling like he was a spider or maybe Michael Jackson and starts wiping out the playing field. For some insane reason, there is a bed of nails under the ring, which Moxley pulls out. He then DDTs Hangman onto the bed of nails. And then there's a funny moment where Corinna goes to grab the briefcase to help Moxley, and then she realizes she can't go anywhere. She's handcuffed. Who's she handcuffed by? Prince Nana. And we see the quick pan of the cameras to see Swerve Strickland on the entrance ramp, clearing house with a chain that's wrapped around his fist. Some of y'all were telling me about the sick beef that Swerve and Hangman had. Hangman burned down Swerve's childhood house, and the significance of the chain, an integral part of their last Texas death match. Man, my voice is gone, man. I'm going through it. But while these two looked at each other in their eyes, everyone was uncertain what Swerve was going to do. He hands the chain over to Hangman, which is kind of like the power being transferred over, if you had to ask me. Swerve chose his side, and Hangman was able to use these chains against Mox. Mox initially fought out of Page's clutches. A buckshot lariat onto the bed of nails looked like the beginning of the end. Well, I ain't gonna lie, it would have definitely been the beginning of the end for me. I would have been done. I would have been done like 20 minutes ago. Hangman Page ends up dangling Mox over the edge of the ring and chokes him out with the chain in order to win the championship. And the crowd erupts. At the very least, out of this pay-per-view, I got what I came to see. Good wrestling. Now, like I said, I got to get deeper into the backstories because I'm sure that there's plenty of lore and history that I missed out on that I wasn't able to catch being a casual. But from what I was able to see, like I said, in regards to just good wrestling, great spots, entertainment, I'm immediately in the okay category. Immediately. And then if we had to really think about the excellence in some of these spots, the madness of the last match and some of the matches prior to, being present to even watch Mercedes Moné go down, I got to give this a yay. This was a very good pay-per-view. It is a breath of fresh air in comparison to what we've been watching across some of the promotions. This is good. We saw people coming in from multiple different brands, like Ring of Honor. Awesome. We got to see Dustin Rhodes complete the story. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Where's y'all grading scales at? I mean, this was 5. If I had to put a number to it, it was long, but a lot of y'all warned me it was going to be pretty long. Maybe I'm doing too much. I say 8.5. I think that's a really good score. Definitely one of the more entertaining pay-per-views I've seen in like over a year. A lot went on, and I'm sure that my scoring grade will go up once I kind of understand the nuances of what I watched. Like I said, trying to really dissect and understand who a lot of these characters are and the significance to a lot of these matches. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about AEW All In Texas. This was a banger, and I'm sure that we're going to get a lot more to build off of these moments. But y'all let me know. See you next one.